Well, we've lost Rhiannon there with her assessment of this extraordinary interview that has taken place and been aired in some parts of the United States so far. We can talk now to Darcy Schild, who's associate lifestyle editor at Insider. And Darcy, thanks for talking to us. I think a lot of people astounded by what we heard in those last 2 hours. First of all, what struck you most in what you heard there?
Thank you. And I think the past 2 hours really represented such a historic moment for the royal family, and also for young viewers and American viewers, but specifically viewers of a younger generation who, this interview with Oprah, I think, will really shape people's perceptions of the palace and of the royal family, and particularly of people who maybe weren't alive or don't remember seeing Princess Diana's 1995 BBC interview. So I think that's something that really struck me, was just how many bombshells came out in this talk with Oprah, and just how formative this conversation is going to be for the people in the US or elsewhere who were watching tonight.
Yeah, and I think the whole world saw again how good Oprah is at doing these things. What were the things that really stood out for you in some of the revelations, some of the accusations that were made in that interview?
I think Meghan Markle's, courage in sharing what was really happening behind these moments of smiles and glamour and beauty that a lot of the world saw as in her early days in the royal family. She shared that there were some really troubling times, and she had thoughts of, not wanting to be alive. And, that was a turning point for her and for Prince Harry. And so to hear that on TV, I think was really, really powerful, and was just a really profound moment in and of itself. And I think another moment that really struck me was hearing from Prince Harry that Meghan Markle on their Australia tour early on in their time in the royal family, quote unquote, brought back memories of his mom's royal tour of Australia. And Meghan Markle really dazzled people and really dazzled the royal family, and really showed how quickly she could pick up on the role as Duchess. And maybe there were some parallels, and maybe this reminded him, as he told Oprah, of his mother's experience on her first royal tour, and how she charmed the world and captured people's hearts. And you would think, as Oprah said, well, what, isn't this what the royal family wants? Isn't this great how quickly she can pick up and show that she can serve the queen and, represent the royal family? But it was really heartbreaking to hear that this, maybe wasn't the case.
There was a couple of exchanges about this conversation that the Duchess alleged, and Prince Harry was asked about as well. This discussion about the colour that their baby would be, baby Archie, even before he was born, and whether he should receive royal titles and royal protection, and some pretty stark revelations there about conversations. Neither would reveal who those conversations were with. But bearing in mind that the issue of race and generational change within the royal family, how do you think that strikes the viewer in the US to hear, particularly in the current climate, to hear reports of a discussion like that going on, of the colour of a child's skin? How do you think that will go down to those who are listening in the US?
Well, I think it was shocking to many people and jarring almost that, yes, well, in my opinion, yes, the palace and the royal family holds on to traditions that are hundreds of years old, and has a way about it, and it's manners that you see that are portrayed in public, and curtsying, and all of these formalities, I think, that go along with the sense of tradition that's prominent in the royal family. But I think what many Americans, who might not be as in tune with the finer details of the palace, I think they will feel shocked and are shocked that this was the conversation that was supposedly had, to Prince Harry, and then something that he had to relay to Meghan Markle. I think it's a sad reality that this happened, and that's how people will likely, respond to the interview and this coming out.
What do you think? What is it that because we saw that there was huge anticipation of this interview in the United States, that Americans, who of course don't have those links to the royal family that people in the UK have, but still there was this real anticipation about this interview, this excitement. I talked to people this week who said they've been texting all week about whether it was Sunday yet so they could see this interview. What is it? Is it just that fascination with the royals? Is it the fact that this is someone who's on TV? Is it this romance? Is it the fractured relationship? What is the driving force, do you think, behind the US interest in wanting to see this couple speak on TV?
Right. Well, I think in the US, we have celebrities and we have Hollywood. And in the UK, I think, for many Americans, we see royal figures as pop culture icons in many ways. And sometimes, I think that they are members of the royal family, or many members of the royal family are trendsetters in many ways in terms of style or in terms of pop culture. And I think with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry specifically, Meghan Markle, with her ties to the US and her acting career prior to joining the royal family, made, this just really like gave Americans, I think, a tie to the royal family in some way in their, when they got married. However, I think with the Oprah interview in particular, it was just the perfect storm, really, of anticipation. We hadn't heard Prince Harry and Meghan Markle sit down and do this candid of an interview since their engagement. So that alone really added to the anticipation, and the texting between friends about, are you watching? And, the chatter online as this is airing tonight. And I think the events of the past year, and now that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle live in the US, this feels like something to many people that is sort of a shared story between the UK and the US.
Yeah, just finally, the vagaries of the US TV schedules mean that here on the West Coast, that interview hasn't aired yet and won't start for another 40 minutes or so. So there's a whole other part of the country is yet to see that 2 hours of interview. But in the minds, you think, of those who saw it, do you think this has been damaging to the royal family? And if so, how damaging in what they had to say, and what people will feel about the royal family as a result of listening to that interview?
Right. I mean, I think for people, maybe if somebody watched this interview and really had not a ton of interest in the royal family at large outside of these 2 hours, I think this could really shape their perception about the institution and the treatment of people in the royal family and what the royal family prioritizes. So I think in that sense, of course, this interview was not in a vacuum. And there are just so many circumstances that that led up to this interview and these 2 hours and these revelations that came out tonight. But I do think that for many Americans, maybe again, who haven't been following closely to the royal family news elsewhere, I think there will be some questions that they're hoping to have answered. And I think from the palace, we may continue to see the Queen continue on with her charity work, and other members of the royal family continue with their charity work, especially as today was the Commonwealth Day broadcast, and we heard many members of the royal family, including the Queen and Prince William, Kate Middleton, Prince Charles, speak and, celebrate the Commonwealth and, the past year and what people have achieved and the unity that the Commonwealth has experienced. And so I think that alone is sort of a contrast in maybe how people are viewing the royal family. You know, there was this celebratory message earlier, and now we're hearing from Meghan Markle and Prince Harry about their experience, and that it was not all, you know, in their words, it was not all what it seemed and what was shown in the pictures and, you know, as a fairy tale.
So much to pick over. Darcy Schild, Associate Lifestyle Editor at Insider, thanks very much for giving your thoughts on that extraordinary interview that has just finished airing in some parts of the United States. Joining us now is the journalist and former editor